Black teens under arrest in Chicago in connection with the beating of a white teen. The suspect shouting anti-Trump slurs as the attack was broadcast on Facebook Live. Let's discuss now with CNN political commentators Peter Beinart, Alice Stewart, and Matt Lewis. Also Symone Sanders, a former press secretary for Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, huh? I guess we know how this one's going to go.
Okay, so listen. There's certain things that I can't say that it's a hate crime because Chicago police won't say it. They're saying they're still investigating it. They're not they're not done with their investigation. But when you look at this, Symone, they're saying F white people, F Trump. How can you say it's not a hate crime against a white person?
Wait. Someone might need to pinch me because I think I might be dreaming or just extremely high. But to me, it sounded like Don Lemon was at least trying to be almost objective, or at least not completely biased.
So first, I want to say this is absolutely sickening. It's unfathomable that so much hate and anger can fill up a person where they go out and they think that this is okay. And then it was stupid to do it on Facebook Live. But
yes, it was stupid to do it on Facebook Live, but the way you say it makes me think that you're only upset that they did that because otherwise they probably would have gotten away with it.
That's a whole nother story. So this is absolutely sickening, but I'm going to say something that's probably not very popular. We cannot callously go about classifying things as a hate crime.
Oh shit, that's pretty fucking rich, dude. To call something that has copious video documentation a hate crime, that's a pretty callous move, I'd have to agree. But the dozens of fake hate crimes perpetrated by themselves, by people in the black community or lesbians, all that kind of shit. Yeah, to call those hate crimes, that's right and just, and to doubt that would be absolute bigotry. The people you align yourself politically with, Symone Sanders, profit immensely from both exaggerating crimes committed against them and indeed creating fake hate crimes. Just for the profit.
Motive here matters. So, was this for hate of Donald Trump, the president-elect, because of things that he has said, or was this for pure hate of white people? That matters, because if we start going around and anytime someone says something or does something really egregious, really bad, and sickening in this instance, in connection with the president-elect, or Donald Trump, or even President Obama for that matter, because of their political leanings, that is slippery territory. That is not a hate crime. Hate crimes are because of a person's racial ethnicity, their religion, their gender, a disability. It is your political leanings because someone doesn't like your political leanings.
The kidnappers said fuck white people multiple times. They made him say fuck white people. In fact, the person there also had a disability, and it seems like many people in the government might actually want to try this as a hate crime against a person with a disability rather than based on the victim's race. So, if you're being honest, then I guess by your own definition this is a hate crime, right?
They do something bad to you, that is not a hate crime.
But Alice, even hate crimes, aren't all hate crimes motivated by stupidity?
They're motivated by a lot of things: stupidity, heartlessness, thoughtlessness, carelessness, so many things. But clearly, I agree with Symone. This is sickening to watch, sickening to think that some careless, thoughtless thugs would do something like this to someone who appears to be so innocent. But look, not to get too far ahead of the legal skis here, based on what we hear in the video, it does sound as though this was a hate crime. The language they used about referring to the poor victim as a white person and the different language they used. And I hope it is classified as that, because therefore the penalty will be much greater and they deserve the harshest penalty they can get. I'm like you, Don. I'd fear what my parents would do to me much more than what the law would do to me if I was caught doing something like this.
Hey, high five, Alice, for at least having some shred of integrity and honesty on CNN, and at least acknowledging that the facts are there.
Wonder,
I never would.
When you see these are 18-year-old kids, and you look at the video, you're like, what is going on? What on earth? Why would anybody ever think that it was okay to treat another person like that for any reason, regardless of it, if it's a disabled person, if it's a mentally physically incapacitated person, if it's a white person or black person, whatever. Why on earth, Matt? I just don't understand it.
I mean, it's man's inhumanity to man. It's brutality is what it is. And I think the fact that this is a vulnerable person who was probably duped into sort of going along with them, it appears, somebody who was mentally disabled, I think makes it even more sickening. But, Don, I mean, at the end of the day, you just try to wrap your head around evil. That's what this is. It's evil. It's brutality. It's man's inhumanity.
Fuck yes, buddy. Thank you for saying the E word. The influence of moral relativism in the West has been to make it seem like there is no fucking such thing as evil until you compare it to something else, which is complete bullshit, and it allows for the sort of evil, indeed, that the left likes to perpetrate. Is there really any other way to describe 4 people kidnapping someone who is essentially completely defenseless, torturing him for hours, practically scalping him, publicly humiliating him?
To man, and
Oh fuck. Sharp intake of breath. Something stupid is about to be said.
I don't think it's evil. I don't think it's evil. I think these are young people, and I think they have bad home training.
Yep, good work, buddy. We're all super proud of you. Bad home training is what caused these people to kidnap and torture a retarded man. If you're trying to make the point that a bad home life is part of what influenced these people and led them to be so deranged, then we can talk. But until then, you sound kind of like an asshole.
I think that when I say who is raising these young people, I have no idea who's raising these young people, because no one I know on earth who is 17 years old or 70 years old would ever think of treating another person like that. It is inhumane, and you wonder at 18 years old, where's your parent? Where's your guardian,
Did
Peter?
y'all
Hey, good job. At least you're trying to bring up the problem of black fatherlessness and how that, yeah, if you would actually acknowledge how that causes almost every significant problem that the black community suffers in the United States, I think that'd be pretty super cool of you, buddy. I skipped what the guest Peter Beinart had to say just because it wasn't terribly controversial or relevant.
Yeah, Symone, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What did you want to say?
I just want to remind folks that we cannot sit here and ignore that for at least for the last year, on very public display, the worst parts of America have been brought from the fringe into the mainstream.
You're correct in that there are some pretty fucking nasty people who support Donald Trump, but is the average Trump supporter really the fucking worst part of American society? I would argue they're mostly people who just are unhappy with the way things were and want some fucking change. And fucking shit, why are you talking about the goddamn KKK, mate? Is that not just the most tired narrative there is in the United States? Instead of admitting that black people can be evil too, you're trying to fucking blame it on the white people. Jesus Christ, lady. I can see it coming already. You're going to try and justify the violence that these young black people are enacting now upon innocent, defenseless white people because black people were enslaved historically by white people. Oh my goodness, we've seen it before, lady. It doesn't work anymore.
So that affects people on both sides. We've talked about white nationalists and white supremacists and the KKK, but there are also when this inflammatory rhetoric is out there, when someone is repeatedly telling you that your community is the worst of the worst, it brings out the worst of the worst in people. And so I'm not defending what they did.
You are completely defending what they've done by making the story not about them. You're making it about the evil white man. That's defending them. Or an attempt to defend them, anyways. And you want them to get help? Really? I guess the people in the South who lynched blacks, they probably just needed a little bit of help, also.
These young people did was sickening. I would argue that they also need some help in addition to, some consequences. But this just didn't come out of thin air. Some of the nastiest and worst things have been drugged out into the mainstream.
Let me just say this. These young people probably never watch the news. Probably have no idea
I don't think
really.
That's fair. I really don't think that's fair.
Y'all have to give
young people in this country more credit than that is.
No idea really the political process. I'm just saying listen, that's my point of view. I don't think that they really understand if they don't understand the ramifications of tying someone up and beating them and putting it on Facebook Live, then they certainly don't understand the ramifications of a presidential election.
All right, Don, I'll agree and disagree with you here. I think, yeah, it's possible they watch the news. They certainly keep informed from places like, who knows, BuzzFeed. Probably see a lot of shit on Twitter. I would assume they consume quite a bit of media from CNN itself, in fact. You're probably right, though, that they don't understand the ramifications of the torture they committed. They don't understand the reality of a presidential election. They mostly just understand the propaganda garbage that's spewed from people like Symone Sanders. All they hear is the constant barrage of information telling them how they're so oppressed and how they ought to fight back. You're so noble just because of your skin color, and that guy over there, he's so evil just because of his.
Don, I don't think this is about a presidential election. I think this is symptomatic of what we're seeing across the country with the breakdown of the American family, which is unfortunate, heartbreaking, and tragic. And we will find out the motives as this continues to unwind, and we find out more. But the disgusting language they use, and the girl in the video is laughing about it and egging her friends on, and for them not to have the moral fortitude to realize this is absolutely wrong. Something's going wrong, it appears, with at home and what they're being taught, and for them to think this is okay, we've got some a lot of teaching to do with our children, and I think as I said, it stems from the breakdown of the American family.
Symone.
All right, more points to Alice here for pointing out the breakdown of the American family. I would say the breakdown of the black family, obviously, it's been even more significant, tragically, than the breakdown of the American family as a whole. This started pretty much in the 60s with Johnson's Great Society. Idle hands tend to lead to pretty nasty things in general, and she's right about the things that these basically kids are being taught. Especially in Chicago. Oh my goodness, I had an English teacher in high school who was originally from Chicago. And he talked about fucking critical race theory and the goddamn bullshit of Jacques Derrida as well. When you add that in with all the race baiting and the whole oppression Olympics being pushed by the SJWs and people like Symone Sanders, yeah, that puts some pretty dangerous ideas in these kids' head.
You think I'm being too hard on these kids?
I am very hesitant to cast these young people as folks who come from broken homes. For all we know, they have a mother and a father who work very good, hardworking jobs, who have instilled or tried to instill good moral values in them, and the young people just aren't listening. So I think, one, we need more facts, and I think, two, we have to be careful to cast our young people, particularly our young people of color, to the side. Look, this was wrong. It was sickening. It was grotesque. They need help. They need to be punished. But we also have to have an elevated conversation about the surroundings and the things that our young people are dealing with every day and the images that they're seeing. They might not watch the news, but they're on Twitter where the president-elect is. They're on Facebook. They're listening to the Breakfast Club. They're listening to the radio. And all of these nasty, nasty things that we've talked about, that we've witnessed over the last year, they have seeped into our children. They are in our schools, and it is coming to bear its ugly head in very, very egregious ways.
She's saying, and Peter...
Well, shit, Mrs. Sanders, you talk pretty fast, but you don't say a whole lot. Let's unpack this. She said, let's not cast our young people, particularly our young people of color, let's not cast them to the side. I don't know who the fuck in this country is casting the young people, particularly the young people of color, to the side, considering the dominant narrative is that these people are so goddamn oppressed. I'll tell you what, they get a lot of extra stuff for free. Even it's easier for these young people of color to get into college, even if the people who are not of color, if that's the term, are more qualified. We're not casting young people of color aside. We're casting these fucking goddamn monsters who tortured a boy with a mental retardation. They fucking nearly scalped him. They forced him to drink toilet water. They berated him the entire time. They forced him to say things that he didn't want to say, and they did it all publicly. What else did you say? You need more facts. Oh, well, shit, man. You can just search up on YouTube or damn near anywhere for the original video of this, and you can see exactly what they do and hear exactly what they say. I think a lot of times we need more facts before we hear these allegations of the immorality of a police shooting, of a supposedly innocent black man, or any of that kind of crap. All these hoax hate crimes actually need more facts before being examined. This one has plenty of evidence. My goodness, now you're talking about these so-called toxic ideas or whatever seeping into our schools, mate? It's FYI, it's not the right who controls the schools or the education of the youth at all. In public education and in university, it's always the leftists and the progressive professors and staff and faculty everywhere who are dominant. And they are filling the ideas of our young with, yes, bad ideas, though they are mostly the ideas you seem to subscribe to. So I skipped the next little bit, but it is important to know that one of the other panelists brought up the fact, basically he called out Symone's ideas complete bullshit. He mentioned that if it were the other way around and 4 white kids beat up a black guy, and you wouldn't see people saying, oh, maybe these kids saw stuff on Twitter. So then Symone responds.
When I watched that video,
I would say that's true, because you know what, the relationship of black people to America is very different than the relationship of white people to America. We're talking about, you know, years, 200 plus years of slavery, 87 plus years of Jim Crow. Like, and I'm not making excuses for these things.
Yes, you are, actually. That's exactly what you're doing. That's the only reason you brought up these things. By the way, I don't know if anyone told you this, but slavery's over. Jim Crow's over. Yeah, that's actually not your problem. Welfare and fatherlessness is what's causing these things to happen. You're not oppressed anymore. You're actually kind of given special rights, and it's corroding your community.
But it is not the exact same thing. We have to talk about these at elevated levels. We can't boil it down to, you know, someone saying something disparaging about the first black president of the United States of America when the current president-elect questioned his authenticity as an American. That has some layers to it.
Oh no, Symone, now you're doing the hypocritical thing again. You're actually not supposed to do that. You're supposed to apply your ideas consistently. You previously seemed to blame it on the fact that people say scary things on Twitter, and the fact that Donald Trump is on Twitter. You'd use that to try and defend these kids.
I just think that in context here, having watched that video, and the first or second thing maybe that you bring up is to inject, like, well, maybe these. I mean, the impression I'm getting, at least from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that, you know, maybe they were asking for this. Maybe Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
I'm sorry.
This.
Let me clear this real up. I've never said no one was asking for it. The first thing that I said was, this is sickening, this is disgusting, and it was wrong. But what I did say was, we don't know if it's a hate crime.
Okay.
First of all, points to this guy for bringing such a painful idea to her. And second of all, that's exactly what you were doing, Symone, by defending these people. You're trying to blame the victim. Oh yeah, and just because at the beginning of the little segment here, you said that this disgusts you, I don't think anyone actually believes that.
That is very
Peter, you're not usually this quiet, and Peter's been sitting here absorbing this.
You know, it's so disturbing that honestly I have difficulty just kind of having a conversation about it. I think that they're two completely different conversations. There's a conversation about the horror of what these kids did, which is a horror, period, end of conversation. There's a totally different conversation about where we're heading as a society, where we are becoming more racially divided than we were even a few years ago, which I think is tragic. And I think, yes, Donald Trump bears some of the blame for that in a way that another Republican candidate, another Republican president wouldn't have, because of some of the frankly racist things that he's done. That has nothing to do, however, with in any way mitigating the horror of what this event was.
All right, thank you. That's going to have to be the last word. I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Bravo, Peter, for pointing out again that this is an absolute horror. There were a few people on here who refused to call it evil or a horror at all. Let me let you in on a little secret, though. You know who actually is responsible for more of this racial violence is the people who are constantly obsessed with it. Progressives and SJWs are constantly using the narrative of racial discrimination, story about the oppression Olympics, so they can get new acolytes into their little cult. Well, this video is probably pretty damn long now, but let me just finish it off by saying this was a disgusting attack by 4 savage people on one completely defenseless victim. There is plenty of evidence to suggest that this was indeed a hate crime motivated by the victim's race. Those who deny that but constantly talk about the countless hoax hate crimes and the few genuine hate crimes committed against blacks and all of that sort of crew are hypocritical and dangerous. I know this video is a few days late, but I'm kind of upset that it seems already to be fading into obscurity with that fucking useless, worthless speech by Meryl Streep last night. That's just another example of the vulgar pride of intellectuals. Because they're good at one thing, they think they're good at everything and can lecture the public on it. Anyways, have a good day, everyone. Thank you for checking it out. You can check out my Steam It blog. I'll link all these in the description. You can follow me on Gab if you're there as well, and of course on Twitter. Non facies furtum, thou shalt not steal, taxation is theft. Have a good day, folks. Government is evil.